Hey, what's going on YouTube? This will be my review of the South Korean drama series That Winter the Wind Blows. Now, I had this came out earlier in the year, and I had watched the first episode, and for some reason, I didn't watch the rest of the episodes when they were airing. Mainly because I was just watching other things while this was also airing. So I decided I was gonna basically go back and watch it later. And I just got done, like I literally just like mere minutes ago, just got through watching this series in its entirety. I marathoned the entire series this past weekend, and let me get right into it. First of all, I want to talk about the acting. Now, the two main cast of Zo and Song, who plays the character Oso, and Song Hye-Kyo, who plays Oh-Young, they are absolutely fantastic in his roles. Now, I've seen Zo in Song. I've seen him in other things as well, and I liked his acting. He's a pretty good actor. A little bit underrated, I would say, but he's definitely really, really good at what he does. But in this, he really does excel. Like, I was really impressed with his, the type of character that he was playing, and he was able to portray it really good on screen. Like, he did a fantastic job. There wasn't, like, anything that bothered me about his acting. I thought he did a fantastic job. He should definitely get an award for this or something. When they do the awards or whatever over in South Korea, he should definitely get an award for this role. And Song Hye-Kyo, she is absolutely mind blowing. She plays a blind character. Like I said, her character's name is Oh Young, and she does it really, really well. Like, she sells that role really well. Not just with the eyes. Like, the eyes of what she's able to do with the eyes. Like, she's able to convince the audience that she is. Well, she's not exactly blind. The character's not blind. She has tunnel vision, but still, she's able to convince the audience of that. And I know when she did an interview, she talked about how she went to different disability facilities, and she did her research on this, to play this type of character. And you can tell she did it, and you can tell she really got engaged and really liked this role. And she just is mind blowing. She's another one who should receive an award for her role. It was just absolutely fantastic. And like I said, not just with the eyes, but like her entire facial expressions. The when she's happy, when she's sad, when she's crying. Uh, she's just very convincing. And I think the two main leads in here are fantastic characters. I mean, they're not perfect, but you are definitely engaged in what's going on with these characters. Now, the basic story and the plot is uh, Oso is basically, he's a gambler, and he's gotten himself into some trouble, and he needs some money. He needs to pay a debt. So he's trying to figure out ways to do that until he does. And basically, Oh Young's real brother's name is Oh So as well. So there's two Oh So, but Oh Young's brother actually dies, and Oh So basically goes to Oh Young, and he basically pretends to be her brother Oh So, and this plays throughout the show. Like, it's really interesting the way they did it, because Oh Young, being a blind character or who has tunnel vision, she doesn't. I mean, she wouldn't be able to tell. But they did meet in the first episode. But that was like a year. I think that was like a year ago. And then now we fast forward to now, and it's like a year later. And she's like, I recognize your voice, but then also he's like, no, we've never met before. Pretending to be her brother, her dead brother. And I just thought that was interesting the way they did that. I thought the premise is basically, it's a basic premise, basic plot. It's not overly complicated. It's melodramatic, and it's 16 episodes, and I think they did everything just well done. There wasn't an episode where I was like, this isn't really engaging. This type of thing isn't really working out. Everybody was able to sell it. Everything is just well done in this series. Now, the OST in here is also amazing. Like the soundtrack is amazing, and it fits the tone very well. And when they're played during the scenes, it's it's well done. It's not distracting or it's not overdone, because sometimes I feel like in melodramas they overdo the music and it kind of distracts from the actual story that's going on. It kind of takes away from the scenes. But this it doesn't do that. It doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels perfectly done. Now, the other characters in here, the side characters, are also pretty interesting. Um, everybody else in here who does, everybody else, every other character in here is pretty interesting as well. They all have their own thing going on. Some side characters get more screen time than others because they're more engaged, and I mean they're more a part of the story than other characters would be. So I thought they did a good job of balancing the characters all together. Another thing I want to say that I really liked is the pacing in this series. I think this is a well done melodrama, because I know melodramatic stuff is not for everybody, but I do like melodramas, especially South Korean ones. I think South Korea has mastered melodramas because they do them a lot. And usually South Korean series are like anywhere from like 16 to like 20 to 24 episodes long. So it doesn't drag. Like, it's not, the writers don't have room to start getting lazy. The scripts, I would imagine, have to be very tight because you don't have as many episodes to go on. So that's probably why they were able to master, I would say, melodramas, as opposed to like other countries, like here in America where they do melodramas. It's like it goes on for seasons and on seasons and on seasons, and during the later season, I mean, the first part of the seasons will be like the first 3 seasons will be great, and then after that, it'll start to drop off and it start to get really, really bad and poorly paced and everything like that. But with this type of storytelling in these many episodes, and this series is only 16 episodes, excuse me, it works out well. Now, I want to talk about the ending, because for a lot of people, I was going around looking at different reviews. For a lot of people, the ending really ruins the series. And I've said this before, and I keep saying it. South Korean dramas are very polarizing in their endings. People either like them, they don't like them, or it's kind of in the middle. And this is kind of no different. And a lot of South Korean dramas are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but it'll come to me. But it's usually the endings aren't very satisfactory to a lot of people in a lot of K dramas, so I can understand why people would have trouble with the ending in this. But I actually like the endings because usually, okay, that's the word I'm looking for, bittersweet. Usually K dramas are bittersweet in their endings. Their entire series really are bittersweet. Usually they have very, very sad and sappy endings. It doesn't end well for the main characters. Here, it's like that, but it's not. It's a very ambiguous ending. It's up to the viewers to decide what happened. Because the thing with this series is kind of both of the main characters are in a way are on a time frame, because one of them has a disease. Oh Young, she has a brain tumor, and she's possibly dying from that. And she's also very suicidal because of some other things that happened to her during her childhood. So she's suicidal and she has a brain tumor, and the only person that she trusts is her brother who died. And the person that she does trust isn't even her real brother. So when she finds that out, she becomes even more untrustworthy of people. So, with her, with this thing, with this tumor in her brain, she's on a ticking time clock for death. And since he owes money to people, he has like a couple of months to live. Otherwise, if he doesn't pay up that money, he's gonna get killed. So they're both like on a ticking time clock towards death. And by the time you get to the end, you would think that there's a couple things you could say. You could say that because what happens to Oso is he gets stabbed. I'm not going to say how he gets stabbed, but he gets stabbed. And it's assumed that he's dead. Which is done very well, by the way. Very, very engaging. You're going to shed some tears during this series. And Oh-Young, she goes in for the surgery. At first, she wasn't going to get the surgery because at first, she didn't want to live. Like I said, she's suicidal. And something happened to her before that. She actually cut her wrist and was basically just going to end it right there. But she decides after all that happens to go ahead with the surgery. And then after that, we see the two characters. We see Oh-Young. And she, she looks the same basically. And I guess I'm guessing that she's still blind. Like, she can see because the camera goes into like this weird blurred vision. And it's kind of supposed to be metaphorically, symbolically, it's supposed to be saying to you, the viewer, symbolically, that she can see now. But she's kind of getting used to the idea of seeing. Because when a blind person sees again, if they're ever able to see again, it's not just, they're going to get used to the world. They have to understand how the world works because they're used to things being where they feel things, and seeing stuff is like, okay, what is this? What is that? It's all this light coming in your eyes and you have to adjust to that. So symbolically, it was saying to the viewer that her vision is still blurred. She's still getting used to that. And then we get another scene where she sees Oso. And I'm guessing he's supposed to be alive. I don't know, maybe he survived the stabbing, or you could say, some people have said, they're both in heaven. That was like symbolically saying that they're both in heaven. I don't buy that because, before this scene shows up, it says, like 1 year later, next spring or something like that. So I'm assuming that both characters did survive, and they got to have a somewhat happy ending. That's what I'm gonna say. You could say, yeah, they're in heaven and whatnot. I don't buy that. I just think that the writer was able to just go, you know what? I don't want to give these characters too much of a sad ending because both characters had sad lives. Both characters. Opso was abandoned as a kid by a tree by his mother, just left there. And Oh-Young, her father wasn't really engaged in her life, and her mother died, and she was being manipulated by some other people that lived in her house, and things like that. And both of these characters just had really, really sad lives. And I think the writer just wanted to go, I'll give them a happy ending because they deserve it. I think that's how I view the ending. It's very ambiguous. You can say it goes this way or that way. It's up to you, the viewer. And I think that's how the writer wanted to, leave us off. And I also really like the screenwriter on this. He's also the guy who did the writing for another K-drama that I'm a big fan of, Padam, His and Her Heartbeats. Like, that's another good series. But yeah, I'm going to give this series a 10 out of 10. Very well done. I can understand why people would have a hard time accepting that ending. But if you can kind of look at it in an ambiguous way and take it the way that you want to, I think you will see, the ending certainly doesn't ruin this series, in my opinion, because the rest of the show was just so well done. And it's only 16 episodes. And they're able to wrap everything up, I think, in a nice, tight bow. There weren't any things where I'm like, what happened to this? Except, like, one character who I really don't care about, like Opso's old girlfriend. Like, her character I just didn't really care for because she didn't really love Opso. She was just infatuated with him, and she was stalking him and stuff like that. So I didn't really care what happened to her character regardless. But everything else in here was well done. So 10 out of 10 for me. Like I said, what did you guys think about this series? And I am out. Peace.